Alrighty, everybody, welcome into another episode of the Full Press Saints podcast. Of course, part of the Full Press Coverage Network. What is going on? It is Alec and Matt in studio today. Well, I guess studio is not really the right thing to say, but nonetheless, it's me, Matt, and the newest member of our team. I'll let him introduce himself here momentarily. But of course, it was a very disappointing week for Saints fans as they lose in overtime to the New York Football Giants. Today, we will dive into what went wrong, what could have gone better, what were some of the pauses in this game for the Saints, and ultimately, what is the direction of this team? Are they a playoff team? Is this a 500 ball club even? I think all those questions are starting to be asked about this team now going forward. Obviously, very frustrating. This game it was in its entirety. But before we get to that, Matt, how have you been, my man? I understand the Saints game really didn't make it a great weekend for everybody. But besides that, how have you been?
I've been all right. It was a pretty trash football weekend all around from the Saints, and I'm from Arkansas, so I'm a Razorbacks fan. So both of those sides of things didn't go well. And trying to keep it kind of topical on what everyone's been talking about lately, I've watched the Squid Games with my wife. That was a very, very good show to watch. So I
Is it
recommend
good?
checking that out.
I haven't watched it yet. I've seen all the craze on Twitter. Is that show like is it the new thing?
It's really good. I mean, definitely whenever Netflix has some kind of random show, everyone hops on it because I feel like everyone in the world has Netflix. So it's definitely something that gets trending. But I'd give it a watch. See if you enjoy it in the first episode. See if it hooks you, and then take it from there.
Hey, okay, I might have to do that. I'm currently re-binging Grey's Anatomy for like the sixth time, so life's a little rough for me right now. It's getting to those sad boy hours. Of course, Matt is here as well as the newest member of the Full Press Saints coverage team. My man Quan. I'll let him tell you guys a little bit about himself. Quan, how are you doing, sir? Super happy to have you on with us. And tell the people a little bit about yourself, man.
Yeah, thanks for introducing me, man. My name is Saquon White, but like you said, that's my short name. I like to be called as Quan. Um, I've really just been in the books lately a lot in school, and I honestly got back into looking at a few Netflix shows because a lot of my Netflix shows they coming back, especially this month. I just finished the Squid Games. I think Sunday night or Saturday night. And then I gotta watch like 2 to 3 more shows that just came out today and last Thursday. And then I'm waiting for the season 3 or 4 of you. But honestly I just been chilling and actually just been in school and watching football and all the sports I can at the time.
I feel that 100%. Yeah, it's just a very ugly game. Of course, the Saints lose to the Giants 27-21 in overtime. At one point in the third quarter, the Saints were up 21-10. Uh, and you could say they got conservative towards the end of the game. Sean Payne really didn't trust Jameis to take control of this offense. Matt, let's just start with you first, dude. There were a few positives and I think a lot of negatives in this game. Um, I'll let you take the first jab at it. What were some of the things that bothered you in this game that made you question uh, where this team stands at right now?
Okay, so the theme of this season so far, I'd probably say, is you hear Drew Brees say it on Sunday night. You hear Jameis Winston say it in the presser yesterday. This team is trying to find their identity. They don't really have, and I know this is a big gripe with you, the weapons that they have out there right now. It's very lackluster, and
The
they're trying
worst,
to.
the worst.
I mean, they're trying to get that identity now in the post Drew Brees era, and with all the guys gone, it's just hard to get anything going. And I understand the way that we're trying to get this. The current identity, I guess you could say, is to play really solid defense and try to hold the team to under 20 points and run the ball a lot. And that's only going to get you so far because at some point you got to put the ball in the quarterback's hands. And of course, Jameis arguably might have had. I mean, the Green Bay game was really efficient and really nice, and he looked really good yesterday. And arguably, you would have liked to seen him throw it a little bit more because he finally eclipsed over 200 yards into the third quarter. I think he had 202 in the third quarter. And then after that, I think he only had like 20 more yards added onto that from the third quarter on, or halfway through the third, maybe most of the way through the third. But I mean, you just would have liked to see Jameis then put the ball in the quarterback's hands, try to make the throw. And I mean, last week against the Patriots, trying to run the ball down the throat, it worked when they needed it to. And you could say it might have been a conservative play call to just try and run the clock out and run the ball. But I do think Sean was thinking that maybe he could run the ball and do like he did last week with just Taysom and Alvin Kamara, just interchanging both of them and running the ball down their throat. But it just didn't work out this time. And whenever it's not going to work out, you're going to see fans lash out about the conservative play calling. And Sean did have some questionable decisions. He got out coached by Jason Garrett of all people, which is sad to see. But yeah, that's kind of preliminary thoughts on the game.
Yeah, I mean, those are all excellent points. Quan, do you agree with Matt? Do you think he said everything, or is there something else in this game that disappointed you about the Saints team?
Well, at the time I was busy, but I already knew the issues from how I was seeing the highlights and looking at everything. The main issue that I had seen throughout the game was the first half. If I feel like the first half told it all. As I told my cousins, they were blaming it on the defense. I had told them at first, I was like, it was not the defense fault. In the first half, if you watch like the first three to four possessions, the defense held their own. I think they only gave up like 3 points. The offense was the main issue because Sean was just running the ball every time. He wasn't giving Jameis the freedom to like let loose. That's how I seen it when I was watching the game. And then the other thing is like he said, was the run game. You can't keep running the ball every time because sooner or later they're going to figure it out. Because I even had seen from another game, I think the Vikings and the Browns, Dalvin Cook got hurt. So imagine if we would have had lost Kamara, even though we lost our other running back, which is still bad in my eyes. We could have got Kamara hurt. You can't always run the ball, even though that's our best play at the time. We don't have MT. You gotta let Jameis get loose. You gotta be. The issue with Sean, I feel like, is he's not confident in Jameis, but he has to get to that point. If he gets confident with Jameis, you could possibly see Jameis be a dark horse for MVP. We got 14, 13 games left, so we really got to find our identity on the offense. The defense knows their identity. It's just we can't keep having them try to contain the team long enough because they're going to get tired. The DBs got tired. I could see it in Lattimore in the second half. That was the main issue. When you try to make the defense the best end, not just the running backs and just the run game.
Yeah, I mean, I think those are both great points brought up to you guys. I think for me, offensively speaking, I think, and I do think Sean Payton is limiting this offense for Jameis Winston. I believe there are some restrictions, but I think also it speaks to these skill guys. The Callaways, the Adam Troutmans, the even guys like Kenny Stills who's still getting acquitted in this offense. Let's just call it what it is. Marquez Callaway, as cool of a story as it is, as cool as it was to see him come out and prosper as an undrafted free agent, he's a wide receiver 3 being forced to play wide receiver 1 due to the injuries of Traquan Smith and Michael Thomas. And it shows. Teams are telling the Saints they will stack the box. They'll play the short passing game with Alvin Kamara. By the way, this is the first game, this Giants game, in Alvin Kamara's career where he did not record a reception at all. And give the Giants have a very good secondary with James Bradbury, with Adoree Jackson, with Logan Ryan at safety. The Giants basically told the Saints, we're going to play the run, and we're going to play the short passing game with Alvin Kamara, and make your wide receivers or tight ends beat us through the air. and it just did not happen enough. You look at, of course, the big play to Kenny Stills that was negated, due to an Adam Trautman holding penalty. The only bright spots offensively, James looked very efficient. I thought he had a very great game through the air. The offensive line looked uh, a lot more like a unit. There's a couple penalties on James Hurst, I believe, but the offensive line did its part, I thought, and Jawan Johnson and Tom Montgomery are the two bright spots at the receiving end, I think so, and it's frustrating to see this team come in week in and week out again with the same receivers, the same tight ends, and Jameis is being asked to do a lot with damn near nothing to work with here. And I know we want to say it's on Sean Payton for the play calling, and it was conservative, to a T. But I do think it has a lot more to do with Sean Payton's lack of confidence and trust in these skill guys rather than Jameis Winston. Because I think we all agree. We saw last year Breeze came in and won games with these very same receivers, with Deontay Harris, with Marquez Callaway having to step in. And Jameis Winston is not at that point within this offense yet. So I think Sean is just trying to protect Jameis from losing his confidence because, these skill guys are just not that good.
Yeah, I would like to shout out Deontay Harris. I think he's been progressing really nicely. He seems like he's the only wide receiver that can get separation on a semi-consistent basis out there.
As long as no one throws him 50-50 jump balls.
Well, that was Taysom's fault on that one. I was actually just watching the highlights again, just looking back at it. And if you look at Taysom, his throwing motion was so terrible on that deep ball. And
he had two guys open.
Yeah, and I mean, to be honest, that's the right read. It's just he didn't throw the ball correctly because Deontay definitely had the inside track on the safety or corner. And if Taysom just threw the ball kind of in the middle, going towards the middle of the field, that would have been a touchdown. Easy. But he just did not throw the ball good at all there. And I mean, just looking at it, I think Sean wants to kind of disguise what he wants to do with Taysom a little bit more.
Yep.
Because as you saw on like the 3rd and 2 play where we tried to get the first down, the box was stacked on Taysom. And I guess Sean's trying to be like, hey, Taysom could throw the deep ball too, when his deep ball is in reality somewhat lackluster compared to what Jameis can throw. So, and I mean, just before it, you saw Jameis throw a beautiful deep ball to Kenny Stills, of course, as you said, with the Adam Trautman holding penalty. And then you just go out there and have Taysom throw a deep ball, which I didn't like that decision myself, but I mean, it is what it is. Taysom just did not execute. I mean, the play call might have been right, but the right quarterback was not in there to make the throw.
Yep.
Another thing I'd like to say is Quan was saying about the defense earlier, and I definitely agree. If you go out there and have the defense out there just trying to have such a small margin of error where you just can't really give up that much, it's hard. But at the same time, you can't give up 400 yards to Daniel Jones. That cannot happen. And I understand.
And this was a giant. I'm sorry. This was an offense that was already without Sterling Shepard and Darius Slayton, I might add.
Yeah, and I mean, I was talking to a Giants fan, and he was even arguing that, hey, it's better that Sterling Shepard and Darius Slayton were out because, and I don't know how factual this is for most Giants fans, but it kind of forced them to use their new gadgets. And Kenny Golladay, who had a really good game. And, of course, Kadarius Toney, he was very surprising. He looked very shifty.
Mm-hmm.
And they would go out there and convert, like, these 2nd and longs, these 3rd and longs, like the 3rd and 18 that Kadarius Toney had on the semi-screen play there. It was just crazy how Daniel Jones just went out there. And, I mean, some of the long plays were kind of uncharacteristic that you don't really see the Saints really give up anymore. That's kind of like a Corey White type situation that you would normally see. I'm not saying Paulson Adibo is Corey White or anything, but he definitely had a rough game. He gave up the John Ross kind of beat him on that. And then Saquon beat Lattimore on that where he was kind of just focused on Daniel Jones. But,
yeah,
I mean, you can't put it all on the defense. If they don't give up the huge plays, yeah, that'd be very nice. At least make them work for it a little bit harder and make them try to stall the field. But I mean, Quan said it too. The offense stalled out, and Jameis even said it that they need to get going faster. They have a hard time of getting in the rhythm of things. You didn't really see Jameis start to get in the rhythm of the things until about midway in the second quarter. I think it happened when he hit that crossing route to Ty Montgomery in between two defenders, which was a really good pass. And then it went on to have the other touchdown to Juwan Johnson in between two defenders also, and two great passes. And I feel like after that he kind of caught his rhythm, but it just took too long. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it's just and Quan, let me bounce back to you with the defense and with two guys in particular I want to mention. One, I think we all agree Paulson Adibo had his rookie game where he needed help. He was getting played on, and the Kadarius Toney touchdown, where it looked like he fumbled the ball before he had reached the plane, and Debo didn't even turn around, look for the ball, and then Kadarius Toney ended up recovering it for his own touchdown. And Cam Jordan, who once again, a quiet game for Cam Jordan and the defensive line in general, but Cam Jordan was the one guy we would have expected to make some kind of pressure, force some kind of mistake maybe, and maybe rattle Daniel Jones. But we didn't see that today. So let me ask you about those two guys in particular, Cam and Adibo. What did you think about their performances?
Well, with Adibo, it wasn't. I wasn't really upset with Adibo. The thing was with Adibo, it came to the point where I was watching overtime and I already had known. I was like, okay, look, the defense, they getting tired and weary. So I already know Daniel Jones and them about to start targeting Adibo, because that's what they always do when you got a rookie corner and he's actually a really good or a good rookie corner and he's starting to make mistakes in a game that he usually doesn't. He's gonna start getting targeted, and that's what they was doing in overtime, and I already knew what was gonna happen with that. With Cam, it is surprising to me because Cam to me, I feel like he should have had a 2-sack game yesterday. If he wasn't gonna get 3 or 4, I felt like he could have got a 2-sack game yesterday, especially that the Giants weren't clicking at all in the first half. That's where I thought he was gonna make his mark. And that's why I think the defense would have possibly scored if Cam would have brought enough pressure with all the other D linemen. But with the catch, the touchdown, I looked at it and it didn't even look like it was a fumble. It looked like it was incomplete from how I saw it. And I think it wasn't Tooney. I think it was John Ross.
Oh, I'm sure. You're right. My mistake. Yeah, it was John Ross. Yeah,
it was John Ross, and everybody talking about it was a fumble, but if you really look at it, it literally looked like an incomplete pass, and that's why I feel like Adibo and whoever the other DB was looking lost, because it was like, okay, that's incomplete, because he caught the ball absolutely, but as soon as he got his feet almost down and hit the ground, it just was loose. That's why I didn't understand the play. Everybody was talking about it. It was like, was it a fumble? Was it incomplete? Because it looked it both ways. But at the same time, you do have to have the common sense or like the instinct to just jump on the ball. So it could go both ways. It was 50-50 with me, how I saw the play where it went like that. But overall, we got to see more from Cam. Cam even said himself on social media, on Twitter, he was upset and disappointed in his game, how he played. The DBs, I have no issues with the DBs. They're doing their job. The issue is the D-line. The D-line has been top 10 to top 5 for the past 3 years or 4 years. We need to see them get back to that dominance, but we do have some missing pieces in Davenport and some other guys. But I need to see them have that top 5 Russian defense. The DBs, we possibly have one of the smartest to young and old ratio of DBs in the league. We just had a bad game this game because the offense was not capitalizing on the mistakes that the defense was reading and getting the interceptions.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more with with that. And uh, Sean just did not call a good game, and I feel like we got old Sean Payton back when he threw that challenge on that. What was it, the 2nd and 2, where clearly it looked like Saquon Barkley got the first down, but he challenged. I feel like Sean was panicking, trying to create some kind of momentum for his team, just because the defense was out there for so long. And um, these games happen in the NFL. That's just what it is. Um, Let me ask you guys this, Matt, you first. How do you think the Saints team rebounds, and in particular with? Let me ask you, Matt with the offense, and I'll give Quan the defense. How do you think this offense rebounds uh, after ending with 3 straight punts in that Giants game?
Okay. Really quickly, I want to say good point by Quan on the defensive line. It's been very lackluster. But as far as the offense goes, trying to get better, of course, I think you kind of got to bide your time. After this Washington game, we got the bye week, I'm pretty sure. And then after that, you can hope that some of your players come back. I know Quan. I saw a video on Twitter of him going around pretty much saying, hey, 2 weeks. So maybe after the bye week, we'll see Quan back. And we might possibly see MT back as well, which, I mean, getting Michael Thomas and Traquan Smith back will be very, very helpful. And definitely something that the offense needs. And Eric McCoy could also be back after the bye week too. So, I mean, you might just go out there and play the very same kind of similar style that you did last week or yesterday against the Giants, and hope that it works against Washington. And just hope for the best, and just try and get to that bye week where you can get some of your players back and get them back healthy. As far as the running game as it continues to go, I do think it's kind of scary how high the usage is for Kamara.
Mm-hmm.
It's reaching like Christian McCaffrey levels without him actually catching the ball, which is one of his greatest strengths. I mean, we've always known Kamara as the guy that gets his touches kind of monitored more better than the way it has been, where I feel like Sean is kind of forcing his hand, where he's just like, hey, I just got to keep running Kamara, which it would be nicer to work in more passing situations. Maybe do kind of even a 50-50 split, especially now, because you feel like you'd be trying to get Kamara in the flats or in receiving situations, since our wide receiver room so depleted. But it just seems like the opposite of that right now, where we've been running the ball too much. And you hope Tony Jones is okay, where he can run the ball more, because if not, you're going to see Taysom Hill run the ball a lot more. And listen, I'm fine with Taysom Hill going out there and throwing a short pass here or there, or running the ball here and there, but it just doesn't need to be a constant thing, because it's supposed to be a special wrinkle into the offense, not something that's consistent. And
Because the teams figure it out.
yeah, because teams will definitely figure it out. And I mean, you saw the Giants; they figured it out later on. I mean, Taysom did have a good impact in the game early on, but as we tried to close it out and tried to run the ball with Taysom, it just did not work. And I don't know, you just got to do something different that's gonna catch him off guard.
Yeah, I mean, and let me ask you this. I, for one, am on the Jawan Johnson hype train.
Mm-hmm.
And I really don't understand why this Adam Trautman experiment is going on still. I think Adam Trautman can be a fine player in the Josh Hill type role.
Yeah.
And then you really use Jawan's body, his size, his speed as a tight end. It can work. And Adam Trautman gives me headaches. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, I feel like it probably comes down to the fact that, because I feel like Juwan Johnson doesn't get a lot of snaps in terms of snap percentages. I'd have to actually look at it. I know the past 3 games, it wasn't very high. I think last week he kind of got more or less benched after he had a really bad route on a crossing route and had a miscommunication with Jameis, and I feel like he just wasn't out there after that. As far as Troutman goes, I think he's just out there because he's considered this blocking tight end, like you said, the Josh Hill type role. I think that might be what he's relegated to at this point, and it sucks to see after you went out and spent a 3rd round pick on him, I believe, is what we spent on him to get him.
Yep.
It's just it kind of sucks, because you would hope that he would turn out to be better. And I mean, there's still time where it could happen. It's only year 2. But as far as a receiving threat, I do agree. Juwan Johnson looks like the guy there, but I would also say you probably needed to mix in a little bit more Taysom Hill as a receiver instead of just running the ball because the two bootlegs that they had to Taysom Hill worked really well. So you might want to see that as a wrinkle into the offense just to produce more offensive firepower in the future and get more out of that tight end slash blocking receiver type role and throw Taysom Hill in there a little bit more. If Adam Troutman's not going to work out, which it doesn't look like that's the case early on this season, and yeah, and I'm on the Juwan Johnson hype train as well. I think he could be something good, and it goes back to when training camp was going around. I was expecting to hear more about Adam Troutman's name, never heard it, and then you just hear about Marquez and you hear about Juwan Johnson, and so far Marquez he's had a player there. He's had one or two plays here or there in the regular season, and Juwan Johnson he's about the same, but maybe Juwan Johnson could be more consistent.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, we'll just see how this week goes with Washington, how the Saints plan to prepare for a defense on paper that looks very good, but has underwhelmed so far this year. Speaking of defense, Quan, let me ask you this. I think we're all in agreement that the Saints defense was left on the field way too much, and they just got gassed against the Giants. How does a unit like that rebound, and maybe play better, knowing that this defense is kind of the focal point of this Saints team now? It's no longer Drew Brees in the offense. It's about Demario Davis, Lattimore, Marcus Williams, and the Saints defense is the identity of this team. How do you think they respond?
Well, since we're playing Washington, they could definitely rebound, especially the D line. The D line is the main thing that we have to see this Sunday coming up. But with the defense, they just gotta keep it on hold like they've been doing. DeMario and the linebackers, they doing their job. The person that I've been hearing about a lot now lately has been our third round pick, Pete Warner from Ohio State.
He had a very good game.
He sounds like he's doing better than Zach Bond, and it's like last game or the game against the Patriots. It was like they were saying Bond was not doing his job, but like he was struggling when he had to start for Quan Alexander. But they said when I was watching and hearing a lot, I was hearing that Pete Warner, he was actually doing really good. He maybe made like one or two mistakes, but the whole game he was like doing really good. So it's showing that we are, especially the young ones, and that tells you we got two bright spots from linebacker with Pete Warner and corner with Paul Adibo. Adibo, he's around too many good corners that I feel like he's not gonna play bad. He's just gonna have mistakes. I feel like I said when we drafted him, when I watched the draft that day, I was like, look, we done got ourselves a corner. In my eyes, he looked like he was supposed to go late first round, possibly early second round if he would have played for Stanford the past season, but he chose not to. But Adibo possibly has the skill set to be the number two corner beside Lattimore. It just determines how he adapts and gets better during the season and possibly when next season comes. But the defense to me could honestly be top 10, top 5. But like you were saying with Matt, the offense has to score. They gotta give the defense a breather. If the defense can get a breather every once in a while, don't matter. Jameis and them take their time getting down the field, but keep getting first downs. The defense will be there. The defense is gonna always be there, as the time being how everybody's playing. It's just they need time to sit back after making possibly a big play like with Marcus Williams. He made that big play, and then I think a few stops they made big plays, but then you see they had to run back on the field because the offense wasn't staying on the field long enough for them to catch a breather and get the game plan set for when they had to wait to play against the Giants offense. But the defense, I have no issues with the defense. Only issue I really have is the the defensive line. I need to see more from them next game, and that'll show if we need more help on the D line or more help in the secondary.
Yeah, I think those are great points, and I love that you brought up Pete Warner, who he had a phenomenal game as as a guy who was seeing a lot more starting time, I believe, and I think one guy Nick Underhill had brought up who played 18 snaps, who looked pretty good in pass coverage. You forget the Saints have Bradley Roby on this roster. If there's a game or a series where Adibo was struggling, um, you can bring in Bradley Roby for a series or two just to get calm Adibo down and get him back. And relax because rookies overthink so many things in the NFL. So the defense looked great. I think Malcolm Jenkins is having a phenomenal start to this season. He's the guy I think people aren't going to talk about enough. And as you said, Quan, I think the biggest thing is the defensive line. Cam Jordan, Peyton Turner. This group has to step up and gets pressure, and the takeaways will come, and the offense can make an opportunity off those turnovers. Just a matter of getting the pressure. Last note I'll say, and then I think if you guys have anything else, we'll call it a day. But God, I miss Will Lutz. That's that's all I gotta say about that. I miss my kicker. Yeah, it's been rough with that Will Lutz, so I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, I definitely miss Will Lutz too, and that's another thing on Sean Payton with the coaching decisions. That decision to go for it on 58, but not go for it on 57, that was, I don't know what that was. But yeah, I think we'll see Will Lutz after the bye week too. Throwing that in there, that'll be very nice to have. But yeah, definitely something to see how things are going to progress, especially after the bye week. I think that's when you're going to see more things change. If Paulson Adibo struggles in this game, you might even see Bradley Roby start, which, I mean, realistically, I wouldn't want to see that because Adibo's been playing really well so far. So I would like to see him be more of the long-term answer than having to get a corner every year and a half. It seems like just cycling through different corners. I'd like a long-term answer to that second spot. But besides that, let's move on. So let's see how it goes from here. And I feel like you can't really go in with too much of an expectation for anything because you don't really know what this team's going to give you on a week-by-week basis anymore.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. All right, guys, that's going to wrap things up today. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at SaintsFPC. Leave those 5-star or any star reviews on Apple Podcasts. Make sure you listen on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts at. Tune in this week. We'll have a Washington football team preview episode come out. We'll preview the Saints as they travel up to Washington for what's going to be a quite a long road stretch for this team. This has been Alec with Matt and Quan signing off. See you guys next week.